Hey everyone, welcome back. So today we are diving deep into the life of Matthew Perry.
Yeah, we're going way beyond Central Perk today.
Way beyond. We're trading in those iconic could this be any jokes for a look at Perry's real life story, as told in his memoir, Friends, Lovers, and the Big Terrible Thing.
And it is quite the story. It's brutally honest. It's funny because, well, it's Matthew Perry, but it's also a raw look at addiction, fame, and what it really means to be human, flaws and all.
It's not always a comfortable read, but his voice, that honesty, and that Perry wit, it's really what makes it so compelling. But let's rewind. He doesn't start with Friends. He starts way back with his childhood, and it's definitely not all sunshine and sitcom families.
No, not at all. His parents divorced when he was just a baby.
Can you imagine being a baby and your parents are splitting up?
It's hard enough as a teenager, let alone at that age. And for Perry, it meant this back and forth life between his mom in Canada and his dad, who was an actor in L.A.
So he's constantly adjusting to new environments, new people, never really feeling settled.
Exactly. And you could see how that early instability, that lack of a solid foundation, really impacted him. He talks in the book about this deep-seated need for validation, for a connection, almost like he was always trying to find his place.
Which makes his comedic talent even more fascinating when you think about it.
Absolutely. It's like he learned to use humor as a defense mechanism, a way to deflect, to get people to like him. It's both heartbreaking and insightful. He even jokes about how he learned to tell jokes by watching his dad be charming at parties.
It's that classic make 'em laugh so they don't see you cry kind of thing, isn't it?
Exactly. And that pattern, that use of humor as a shield, it pops up again and again throughout his life.
It's almost like a recurring theme in the memoir, right? But here's something I didn't expect before the acting bug bit. Perry was a tennis prodigy.
Right. Who knew Chandler Bing could dominate on the court?
I know. He was ranked nationally in Canada, even considered going pro.
Makes you wonder what would happen if he'd stuck with it, doesn't it? Would we even know Chandler Bing today?
Right. Those sliding door moments in life are wild. But I think it's interesting, even with tennis, you see that drive, that ambition that would later fuel his acting career.
Absolutely. He had that desire to excel, to stand out, whether it was on the court or on the screen.
But ultimately, it was humor that really spoke to him, that became his outlet, his way of connecting with the world.
It was his language, yeah.
So he follows that pull to LA, moves in with his dad, and starts chasing the acting dream. But I'm guessing the road to Friends wasn't all smooth sailing?
No, definitely not. He's brutally honest about the struggles, the rejections, the constant hustle of trying to make it in Hollywood.
Which, let's be honest, can be pretty brutal, even for the most successful actors.
Oh, absolutely. It's a tough business. And for Perry, who already had those insecurities, that need for validation, well, it was a pressure cooker.
I can only imagine. It's like his childhood all over again, that feeling of uncertainty, of not quite belonging.
Yeah, you really hit the nail on the head there. But even with all the setbacks, the rejections, you can see this resilience in him, this determination to make his mark.
Because deep down, he wanted to connect with people, to make them laugh.
Exactly. That desire, that drive, it never went away.
And then Friends happened. Imagine going from those lean years, those constant struggles, to suddenly being one of the most recognizable faces on the planet.
It's almost unimaginable, right? The fame, the fortune, the adoration. It's the kind of success most actors can only dream of.
But Perry is honest about the fact that it wasn't all sunshine and roses. In fact, it actually amplified a lot of his existing insecurities.
Well, yeah, you're suddenly thrust into this world of intense scrutiny, pressure. Every move you make is analyzed, every joke dissected. It's a lot to handle.
Especially for someone who already craved validation, who used humor as a way to deflect and protect himself.
Exactly. And he talks about how the anxiety became almost unbearable, this constant weight on his shoulders.
So what does he do? He turns to alcohol?
Which, sadly, is a common coping mechanism in high-pressure environments like Hollywood.
It's like he found this temporary escape, this way to numb the anxiety, to quiet those inner demons, at least for a little while.
But of course, as we know, that kind of escape is never a long-term solution.
And for Perry, it became a dangerous crutch, a way to deal with the overwhelming pressure of fame.
And unfortunately, that's not where the story ends.
No, it takes another turn. He gets injured in a jet ski accident.
Which, on the surface, seems like a random, unfortunate event.
Right, but it actually becomes a turning point in his addiction.
Because that's when the painkillers enter the picture.
And suddenly, he's facing a whole new demon.
It's amazing how these seemingly isolated incidents can spiral, isn't it? One minute it's a jet ski accident, the next it's a dependence on painkillers.
And it's a slippery slope, especially with opioids. They're so addictive, and they mess with your brain chemistry in a way that makes it incredibly hard to stop.
Exactly. And what's scary is that it can happen to anyone. It doesn't matter if you're rich and famous or just a regular person struggling with pain.
Addiction doesn't discriminate, and Perry's story is a stark reminder of that. He talks about how his dependence on Vicodin escalated to the point where he was taking 55 pills a day.
55 pills a day.
Yeah.
It's hard to even fathom that.
I know. And this is during the peak of Friends. He's on top of the world professionally, but inside he's fighting this incredibly difficult, incredibly isolating battle.
It's a reminder that what we see on the surface, the outward success, the fame, it doesn't always reflect what's going on behind closed doors.
And it's scary how addiction can grab hold like that. You know, Perry's story really highlights that this can happen to anyone.
It really can. Addiction doesn't care about your bank account or your job.
Yeah.
It's a disease. And like any disease, it needs to be treated with care, not judgment.
Absolutely. He talks about his colon bursting because of the opioid abuse. It's terrifying.
It really is. Can you imagine? 2 weeks in a coma, multiple surgeries. It's a stark reminder of just how high the stakes can be.
It makes you realize how serious this is. That behind those laughs, those iconic Chandler moments, Perry was facing a life or death struggle.
And he's so open about it all. The struggles, the setbacks, the multiple attempts at sobriety. It's not a straight line, is it?
Not at all. It's messy, it's painful, it's real. And I think that's what makes his story so impactful. He doesn't sugarcoat anything.
No, he doesn't. And in a way, that honesty makes it even more hopeful. Because even in those dark moments, you see his resilience, that determination to keep fighting.
To choose life. And it's a reminder that even when things seem hopeless, there's always a flicker of light, always a reason to keep going.
Exactly. And for Perry, a big part of that light was the support he got from the rest of the Friends cast.
Can you imagine going through something so intense, so personal, while also navigating the craziness of global fame? It's hard enough for regular people, let alone someone in the spotlight like that.
Absolutely. And they were there for him, through thick and thin. He talks about how Jennifer Aniston, especially, was really attuned to his struggles and tried to offer support.
Which, let's be honest, can be a delicate balance, right? Wanting to help, but also respecting someone's space and their journey.
Of course. It's a tough line to walk. But you can tell how much those friendships meant to him, how much they helped him through some really dark times.
Even though, as he admits in the book, his addiction created these walls, these barriers that made it hard to truly let people in, even those closest to him.
Because that's what addiction does, isn't it? It isolates you. It makes you push away the people who care about you the most.
And unfortunately, that isolation, that feeling of disconnection, it spilled over into his romantic relationships as well.
Even with his high-profile romances, like with Julia Roberts, he still struggled with these feelings of unworthiness, of self-sabotage.
It's like he couldn't escape those internal demons, even with success, even with love. It really shows how interconnected addiction and self-worth can be.
It's a good reminder for all of us, I think, that those internal battles, those insecurities, they don't just disappear because you achieve a certain level of success or find love.
No, they don't. But the good news is, recovery is possible. Perry's story is proof of that. It might be an ongoing journey, with its ups and downs, but he's living proof that there's hope.
And more importantly, he's using his platform, his story, to help others. He opened a sober living facility. He's speaking out about addiction. He's turned his pain into purpose.
Which is incredible, right? To take something so difficult, so personal, and use it to make a difference in the world.
It's a powerful reminder that even in the darkest of times, we have the power to choose hope, to choose healing, and to use our experiences to lift others up.
It's like that saying, your mess can be your message. And Perry's message is one of honesty, vulnerability, and ultimately hope. It's a reminder that we're all human, we all have our struggles, and it's okay to ask for help. And sometimes the most unexpected stories can be the most powerful.
Absolutely. So if you're going through something, anything, please know that you're not alone. Reach out, seek support.
Yeah.
There are people who care and want to help.
Beautifully said. Well, that was a deep dive into the life of Matthew Perry, a story of heartbreak, resilience, and the power of human connection. What will you take away from his story?